Resolve. What's up everybody, Goat Toaster 9 JJ Shankles here. Today I got a huge thing that I just learned today about Fuji system, Fuji cameras, shooting on it, and it's huge. It totally changed. I was trying to color grade some stuff. I had some footage that I'd shot in log. It was so story time. I got the Fuji. So story time. My first Fuji camera was this Fuji XT2 I bought back in November. It was Thanksgiving weekend, and it's the beginning of March now. And at the beginning I was just like learning how to do cameras. This is my first camera that's not attached to the back of a smartphone, so I actually had to learn a lot. And as I was learning, there were a lot of things that were saying that shooting in a log profile would be a more professional way of shooting. And I really struggled trying to grade it, because also not knowing how to grade and learning how to shoot and learning how to work a camera and learning lighting and learning audio and learning all the things that I've been doing. It's been a great process, and each video I think I'm getting a lot better at one specific part that I'm really focusing on. Now it comes to log. I found the greatest thing. So if you don't know about it yet, Fuji has their own LUTs that they put out for their F-Log, and one of them is the Eterna LUT. It takes a log profile and makes it look amazing and gives you the ability to adjust it like you can in log. You can adjust the highlights and the lowlights way more than you can a normal shot. But with this Eterna LUT, it's built per camera, so I downloaded the XT2 LUTs. They're just free online. I'll post a link down below, so you need to go check these out right now. They are amazing and allows you to shoot in log. This has just been shot in 4K, internal recording, straight out of the XT2. Let me flip it over to log now. And now this is log. So another downside to shooting in a log profile is with the XT2, if you record internal 4K log, you can't use your external monitor. So my external monitor, because you can record internal, because in the settings, if you're recording internal 4K log, it would take too much power for the computer. It would just take too much power for it to also output that. For it to output any signal would be too much for the. It'd be too much for the camera to output a signal and record internal 4K log. So if you had an external recorder, you could record external 4K log and still record a 1080p. I think it would stay in log profile, recording it internally as well. So it'd give you a backup if you had an external recorder, but I just have a field monitor that's just a little 5-inch screen. And so for me framing it right now, it's kind of weird going back to not being able to look back over between sentences and make sure I'm still in frame and the camera's still on and stuff like that. So still working with that. But so this is it, 4K log, very flat, very plain. I didn't change any of the settings besides going down to the log, selecting it, and this is what it is. But now, if we do that, this is it color graded. So there's a couple settings. I use Davinci Resolve for editing, so this is what I did in Davinci Resolve to make this look great again. First thing, I make 2 nodes. So I select my clip, take it to the coloring section of Davinci Resolve, create 2 nodes. The first node, I'll increase the saturation to about 75. Typically 75 is a good one to bring a lot of the vibrance back to the picture. And this is also the node I'll adjust the highlights and lowlights. And on the second node, I'll just slap on Fuji's Eterna LUT. I go back to node number 1 and adjust the highlights and the lowlights. So I look for whites in a scene. So in this one specifically, I know the letters are supposed to be white. And the walls are very light, but they're still off-white. They're not totally white. And so you sort of adjust your peaks and your darkness. And so something like the black background or the black on this chair, depending how much glare or stuff on it, I find something really dark and make sure that's hitting the bottom of my waveform, and that's it. And now that I've found such a quick and efficient and very good format for shooting log again, I'm really excited to get back to shooting log. So for a while now, I've just been using Fuji's Vivid straight out of camera color presets, and I wanted to do log because there's a lot of shots that I take where the dynamic range just isn't as much as you can get with a log format. I know some of these terms might not be totally technically correct, so correct me if I'm wrong if that dynamic range word it can't be used in this situation because it's not the technical spec for a dynamic range. But as someone who's learning and growing in this sport, I don't know all that much about cameras and videography. And I just found this and I'm super excited to go back to log again and actually be able to color grade a little bit instead of, because I found recently whenever I do try to shoot straight out of camera and then in post-processing, whenever I do try to change the levels of things, it just really messes with the picture way more than I think it should. It'll just like oversaturate some things, and then it makes skin tones look unnatural, and it's something I'm still learning. And so while I'm learning it, I'm really glad that Fuji has this Eterna LUT that works with their sensors. Normally people don't produce LUTs for Fuji unless it's a Fuji shooter. A lot of people have the Canons or the Nikons or Sonys. Those are some of the big players in the game. So some of the bigger photographers and videographers release their LUTs, and they're sort of tailor-made for those cameras. But for Fuji, they created their own, and that takes it to a really good base starting point. It makes it look amazing, and it's still a graded log, so it gives you abilities going forward. And then a couple of these I've been experimenting with adding a third node on there. So once you get your, number one is increasing saturation, working highlights and lowlights. Number two, you throw the Eterna log. So after this point, after 2 nodes, you got it to a good looking picture. But then if you want to stylize it, then the third node, if you add it in there, is where you can work with more of a colorized LUT. If someone has a nature or a summer or autumn, whatever type of feeling, a mood type coloring you want to put to it. If you want the mood to be really all somber, that's great in the third LUT to try to do that. Or if you want to just go in and mess with the colors a little bit, it's great to take it in the third node. That's another thing I really like about Davinci Resolve, is how much they work with nodes. And it's really graphically, once you understand what the nodes are doing and that it's flowing from one node to the next node to the next node and how they're layering on each other, to mess with like saturation and highlights and lowlights first. And then you apply a LUT. And then you apply your final like artistic coloring you want to add to it. To not do all that in one node, because if you apply it all in one node, everything is adjusting each other at the same time. Everyone is sort of stacked on top of each other at one time, and you can't take one out. And so if you click on the number on the bottom left of each node, you can disable it for a moment. So if you change things in your third node that makes it bright and green and you think it's all flowery, and you think, is this unnatural? You can take off that one, take it back to your original and be like, yeah, that was kind of a dull day, and I think it needs that. And you turn it back on and you're like, yeah, that's great, but it is a little too blown out. You can really compare and contrast by turning on and off nodes in whatever order you want. I think that's a great feature of Davinci Resolve. So I hope this helped anyone out there, because Eterna LUT is my new favorite thing, and I'm so glad I found it. I don't know why it took me so long. It's definitely been out. I think when Fuji released its XH1, that camera has the Eterna film profile built into it. Super excited. Personally for me, for the XT2, I got to shoot in log and then color grade it later. But with this new Fuji LUT, it only takes a couple moments to color grade from log into an amazing looking product. I think that's super awesome. And I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Hopefully this doesn't look all drab. And if it does, then maybe you shouldn't use Eterna LUT, or maybe I just need to learn a little bit more about the LUT and how to use it and stuff, or just how to film. And I'm learning so much as we go. Anyone who's out there who's just starting out with a Fuji, make sure you check it out. This LUT, I think, is an amazing thing. I think it's very necessary to get you into the log profile, get you color grading. I know personally I have so much to learn. It was almost something that scared me away from log profile, because I would just take so long color grading a thing and it just wouldn't look very good in the end. I didn't like the final product, so I just switched back to regular, straight out of camera shooting. And I think that was a great process because it got me shooting and it made me these videos, and I started making videos and I started doing that, and I could focus on more things. I could focus on lighting, I could focus on audio. But now I do want to go back, now that this Eterna LUT I found is super great and super awesome in the first couple things I was able to color grade. And so, hope this helps you guys out. As always, like and subscribe down below. Thank you guys for sticking around to this channel. More videos to come. Go Toaster out.